What's up, everybody? My name is Charlie. For those who don't know me yet, I'm a recent graduate of Johns Hopkins University, where I ran cross country and track. And just this past summer, I moved out to Oregon, where I have been living and working as a full-time engineer ever since. Just over 1 year ago, I ran my last ever college cross country race at D3 Nationals, where I finished 253rd place and ran a time of 26:43 for 8K, which is 5:22 per mile. Fast forward to now. This past weekend at CIM, I just ran 2:18:53 for the full marathon, which is an average of 5:18 per mile. This was far and away the best race of my life. I'm so excited to sit down and walk you guys through how it all went down.
You did it! You did it!
What's going on, everybody? Today is finally travel day. I'm on my way to the Portland airport to fly up to Sacramento. We are 2 days out from race day. Super excited for this race weekend and can't wait to run on Sunday. Made it through security. I was worried about this happening. I have a shit ton of gels with me right now, and I was worried about getting flagged down. I did end up getting flagged down. They were super nice. I was able to keep as many gels as I could fit in a quart-sized bag, but I did have to get rid of like 6 or 7, so lost a little bit there, but that's okay. I still have plenty to get through the race. I landed in Sacramento around 4 p.m. on Friday. From there, Sydney and my mom and Sydney's mom picked me up from the airport, and we had about a half-hour drive to our Airbnb. My travel day was super easy, other than the quick mishap with gels through security. Sydney, on the other hand, did not have quite the easy day. She had some major flight delays, and on top of that, her phone's SIM card broke while she was at the airport. Thankfully, she made it to Sacramento just fine. So first thing we did after we got back to the Airbnb was go to a Verizon store to get Sydney a new phone, just so she wasn't completely in the dark the whole weekend. Other than that, all we did that evening was just eat a nice dinner and then went to bed. Maybe there'll be a good screenshot of this. On Saturday, Sydney and I slept in and went for a 3-mile shakeout run with some 200s at the end. Super pretty run. At that point, we were both feeling pretty good. Day before race and on a weird taper, your legs feel fresh, but like kind of weird. So that's kind of how I was feeling. Not anything bad though. After our shakeout run, we walked about a quarter mile or so from our Airbnb to the Sacramento Convention Center to check out the CIM Expo and get our race bibs and some gear and stuff like that. What do you say? I don't have directions.
Oh, I don't have directions.
Let's see.
What's up?
Maybe this is cute. Okay.
What's up, vlog? We need to find this email.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna talk while you find that email. Right now, it's Saturday morning. Sydney and I are heading over to the convention center for the expo to pick up our race bibs and packets and stuff like that. We had a 3-mile shakeout this morning, which was super nice. Here's our Airbnb. It's really pretty here. Beautiful weather. It's gonna be perfect weather tomorrow, and we're both very excited to race. Right?
Woo!
How excited?
Like, out of 10?
Yes, out of 10.
8, 7.
Yeah, same. I'll get that later. I like them. Ever since about September, Sydney and I have had the same coach. So once we got home from the expo, we had a short phone call with her just to sort of discuss our race plans. In my last video, I mentioned that I was considering going out with a 219-220 pace group. On this call with my coach, she really encouraged me that that was going to be the right play. She framed it this way of like, even if you maybe want to run a bit slower, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier to run with a lot of people, and you're not going to notice a few seconds per mile. So I felt really good about that decision, and I knew going into Sunday morning that my first goal was going to be to try to find that pace group on the start line before I started the race. In addition to that, one of the tips she gave me to use as little energy as possible in the first half of the race was to not talk. She said, no matter how good you feel, you're going to want to talk. Just let other people talk, listen to them, have it be a distraction, but don't do it. And then you can have that little mental boost of thinking to yourself, oh, I'm saving energy. Regardless of whether or not, exchanging a few words actually uses up energy, I was going in with that mindset of I'm going to do as little work as possible in the first half of this race. CIM allows you to drop clothes or warm-ups at the start line, but you're not going to be able to get them back, and neither of us packed clothes that we wanted to donate, so we went to a thrift store, grabbed some warm clothes so we would have warm-ups for Sunday morning that we knew we'd be able to just drop off in a donation bin right before the race started. Other than going to the expo, doing that, and having a phone call with our coach, we pretty much did nothing the rest of the day. We both just sat around the house, laid in bed, stayed off our feet. I got my race kit ready on Saturday night, just laid everything out, made sure I was ready to go, and we got to bed around 7:40 p.m. Before my first marathon, I barely slept the night before. I was tossing and turning. I was really nervous. Before this one, I got a full over 8 hours of sleep. I think a big part of that was I was honestly just not super nervous going into it. I was super confident in all my preparation that I'd done. My training block was phenomenal, and I just had a really good headspace. And whether it was, naive or over optimistic or not, I really just deep down knew that I was going to be able to achieve my goal the next day, and I didn't really see anything getting in the way with that. So I didn't have a ton of nerves the night before, and I fell asleep and slept the whole night. Sydney was the same way. She got a really good night's sleep too, which, just kind of a rare thing. I know most people don't sleep well the night before a marathon. On race day, Sydney and I both woke up around 4:15 to eat some breakfast before heading over to the start line. I opted for 1.5 Pop-Tarts, a honey stinger waffle, and then maybe a couple packs of fruit snacks. Glass of water, electrolyte tablet, all stuff that I frequently eat before my long runs and workouts and morning runs, so I knew all this stuff was going to sit well in my stomach. After that, we suited up in our race kits and our donation warm-ups, and we left our Airbnb around 5:15. We were staying about half an hour, maybe a little bit more, from the start line, so we had our moms drive us to one of the shuttle points that was closest to the start line. We got dropped off, grabbed all our stuff, and then from there, we had to wait in a line for about 5 minutes to get on a school bus, and then after we got on that bus, we had about a 5 to 10 minute drive to the start line. After that, did some dynamic warm-ups, about a mile jog, went to the bathroom, and then slowly started making my way to the front of the start line. I was in a bit of a unique situation because I knew that I was trying to run a pace that most people were trying to run in the seeded and elite fields. So the way the corrals were set up for this race is the fastest group was anyone planning to try and break 250. So I went into that corral and then tried to make my way up to the front. I was trying to get right on the back of the seeded or elite fields, but there was a fence and a rope blocking that off. I talked to some of the race coordinators. They were like, hey, we're going to lower this fence and this rope soon. And I was just trusting that because I was really relying on getting on this pace group. About a minute before the race started, they dropped that rope. Thankfully, I knew what my pacer was going to look like. Matt Fox from Sweat Elite, if you guys are familiar with his YouTube channel, he makes some great videos. He's ran now 3 sub 220 marathons in the last 8 weeks. Go check out his channel. It's good stuff. Anyways, so I knew what he looked like, and I was able to make my way up and get exactly right behind him on the start line. So in that last minute between lowering that rope and the gun going off, I pushed through a couple rows of people, got right behind him, and at that point, in my mind at least, my race was pretty much done. I didn't even have to use the first 200 to 400 meters to find my pace group. I knew I was right there. So from that point on, when the gun went off, I was just able to shut my brain off and sit in the pack. One of my earliest decisions in this race was I decided to not look at my watch at all. My reasoning behind this was that within a mile or two, we already had formed a pack of about 15 or so people that were clearly sticking on the pacer to try to break 220. So I knew I was going to be able to sit on the pack of that group and trust that we were going the right pace without having to look for the stimulus on my wrist. I'm looking at some of the splits. Looking at this now, this is why I'm really glad I decided to not look at my watch. If I had looked down and seen that I ran a 5:06 mile in the third mile of this race, I probably would have gotten a little freaked out and thought I was running too fast, when in reality, I had no idea we ran that fast for the third mile. It didn't feel like it. We still felt like we were jogging. So going into future marathons, this is probably something I'm going to try to do as well, is not worry about looking for numbers for reassurance and just trusting my body and trusting how things feel to know I'm getting the job done. Yeah, scrolling through all these splits, you can see pretty consistent. Slowest mile was mile 7 at 5:23. Everything else kind of hovering somewhere between 5:10, 5:20. Kicked it in, I guess, a little bit, you could say, in the last quarter mile or so. Another reason why I'm glad I didn't look at my watch is looking at my heart rate. I look at heart rate a fair amount in training. And I know, obviously, looking after the fact that heart rate in training does not equal the same heart rate in racing. Heart rate in my racing, at least, is always a little bit higher from adrenaline. You can see I was only running under 160 beats per minute for about 30 seconds. Normally it takes me, a mile or two of marathon pace to get over that amount. I spent 54 minutes between 162, 175, and then 60% of the race over 176 beats per minute. Normally, that is a heart rate where I feel like I'm running pretty hard when I'm doing workouts, but I guess given the race environment or something like this, I never noticed that, and I felt like I was breathing very easy during the entirety of this race, most of the race. Taking a look at the elevation plot, you can see we got 689 feet of gain. Most of that was all in the first half. You can see probably around, I guess, what would be the 80-minute mark on this x-axis here was one of the last bigger hills, and then there's a small spike right there at about 21 miles. That is when the race really started hurting. I didn't really notice many of these uphills too much in the first half. I was pretty locked in and just feeling good in the pack. Talking a little bit about nutrition during the race. So all the gels, I went 40 gram beta fuel gel on the line, 20 gram, 75 milligram caffeine gel right around mile 10. Mile 14, another beta fuel gel with 40 grams. Mile 18, another gel with electrolytes, 20 grams carbs. And then mile 22, last gel with 20 grams carbs, 75 milligrams of caffeine. Whoever said that the marathon is a 10K race with a 20-mile warm-up was exactly right. I felt so good and so easy through about 20 miles or so. Mile 21 started to feel a little bit tough, and then by mile 22, things got very, very hard. So those last 4 miles of that race were very painful. My legs were super, super heavy, but thankfully I had a couple guys around me to cue off of and keep pushing with. And also at that point, it was pretty mentally easy to convince myself to push through it because I knew I only had about 20 minutes of running left, and I knew it was on a really good pace, and I was not about to throw that away in the last 4 miles just because things got hard. I checked my watch for the first time at mile 24. I looked down at it for about half a second. I saw that I was running 5:20 pace. Didn't really give me any information. Other than that, I looked at it once more when I crossed mile 26, and in my head, I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna run like 2:19:02 or something like that. I did not think I was gonna get under 2:19. The way this course works is you're running, you make a left turn right after mile 26, then you make another left turn to the finish line, and the finish line is about 10-15 seconds away from there. So I turned around that final corner, looked up at the clock, saw like 2:18:40 or something like that, and knew that I was gonna get under 2:19 and was just so incredibly happy. I crossed the finish line, and it felt pretty surreal, honestly, to have not only achieved my goal of breaking 2:20, but to get under by so much. I kind of hobbled over to a table where I grabbed a medal, a water bottle, a banana, and like one of those blankets or scarves type of things. Then from there, I actually had a conversation with Connor Winter from Tim Man Elite. He had a really tough day out on the course, but he still took the time to chat for a couple minutes with me, told me about his race, asked about mine, and it was a really good conversation, and I really appreciate that he took the time to hang out and talk with me, even though I could tell he was having a really tough day. After walking away from the medal table, I kind of was like hobbling around. My legs were super unstable, and there weren't really many people around at this point. I ended up taking 36th place overall in the race, and I won my age group, the 20 to 24 age group. So not many people were around the finish line area yet, and I kind of just got this huge wave of emotion, just like, I don't know, really overwhelmed with the moment, really, really happy and proud of what I had achieved. And I, to be honest, was just walking around basically crying with a smile on my face for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Some people kind of passing by, you know, said congratulations. They could tell I was, you know, had some tears on my face, but that it was happy. And then after a while of kind of stumbling around, I sat down on the ground, kept checking my watch to see what time it was because I knew Sydney was going to be coming in soon. I started to get really tired and really cold and was kind of like sitting on the ground looking at my feet. And then sooner than I expected, I felt a tap on my shoulder, looked up and saw Sydney smiling super big at me. She ran a killer race, huge PR. She ran 2:43.20, also won her age group and came 45th overall for the women. So I was just absolutely overjoyed to get to share that moment with her and know that we both had good days on the same day. None of this would have been possible without the amazing support from my mom and Sydney's mom, who came out with us for the whole weekend, and obviously just, you know, being our parents, giving us so much love and support constantly throughout our lives, especially during the last, months of training that we've been going through. Also would not have been possible without the amazing support Sydney and I had from our coach, Caitlin, with New Wave PT. As I said earlier in the video, I was so incredibly confident with the training that I put in going into this race. And I think that confidence that I built under my coach over the last few months is the biggest reason why I was able to pull this off. I want to give a huge shout out to COROS for their support over the last few weeks with this channel. It means a lot to me to have a support from a brand that I really believe in right now, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with them in the future. Finally, I want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's watching this video right now. Whether this is the first video of mine you've seen or whether you've been one of the few people that's been here since my first one that I posted at the end of October. This is the first time I've ever been so public with sharing a goal and sharing my training. So to receive this kind of support means a whole lot to me. And I, again, think that's another big thing that played into my ability to achieve this goal. I know this channel started just to document this series, but it's very much going to be still going from here on out. Right now, I'm in the process of planning my early 2025 training and racing schedule. So the next video I put out is probably going to be talking all about that. Thank you everybody for watching today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. It really helps out the channel, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.